Alright, welcome back to the Supercoach Nuff channel. In this video, we're going to preview round 6 of the 2025 NRL Supercoach season. So as usual, what we'll do is we'll kick off with the most popular trade-ins and trade-outs. Actually, I'll do trade-outs first, why not? Just mix it up a bit. So on the traded out list this week, number 1, Jamie Humphries. So yeah, totally understandable. Out for about 4 weeks with hamstring injury. Has made us 120k, so obviously we can shuffle a couple of different directions with that. Yeah, trade him out, absolutely. Jack Jeski, I think with the cheap options this week in the second row, you can absolutely get rid of him. He started the whole season, he's only made 74k, so I think that's basically what we were expecting. So I think now's a good time to jump off with the cheap second row options available. Tom Starling at number 3. So I guess a few people suggesting he's peaked in price. He has made 140k. So if you've got options there, I guess there is probably a cheaper option with Riley Smith, but I'd probably be looking to push him up to a keeper, considering a lot of us started with 2 cheap hookers. And I think there is a couple options there. So Tom Starling, I think, is one you can trade out. Adam Reynolds. So I guess interesting that you're trading out a playing player that has made 140k. So his average would be pretty good. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head. Let's have a quick look. So he's averaging 75. He has had that down week previously, a couple of down weeks, but I guess if you brought him in, you were hoping for more of those big scores. I guess obviously if you're moving to a Hines or a Hughes, the actual keeper you wanted, and he was a stepping stone, fair play. I think that's fine. Vaymalga, so another one, I guess you can move on now. We've got some cheap second row options. So, yeah, he's just going to play that impact role off the bench, so not really super coach relevant. Luke Metcalf's an interesting one. Obviously a tough draw this week against Melbourne. And just trying to have a look at his upcoming fixture. So he plays the Broncos next. The Knights, I think that's over in New Zealand though. He's one I think you can hold. He obviously won't be on fire this week, but obviously if there is a player that you want to bring in, you could use that bit of money he's made. He's only made 50k, but yeah, go ahead. Alex Seyfarth, I guess he's made 100k. I'm not sure what his break even is, 46, so he's probably a hold. I guess if he is your way to bring in one of those cheap second rowers to upgrade elsewhere, yeah, okay, I suppose. Because he's definitely not a keeper, so that's fair enough. Yeah, Royce Hunt. So a few people using the opportunity this week to get out of that absolutely makes sense. Jesse Arthurs, he's made his cash 160k, so you can trade him. And Cobra Hetherington, again, another sort of mid-price plotter. Absolutely downgrade him to one of those cheap options this week. And so I guess on the trading list, number 1 is Thomas Cant. So so surprised it's that much, being honest, but I guess there is a bit of news that Dylan Lucas is still a few weeks away. So he does have the opportunity to make, 150, 200k if it goes to plan. So I definitely understand that. I personally prefer Dylan Egan at the cheaper price. Seems like he's got stronger job security, but doesn't have the upside. I think Cant, playing on that edge, has a bit more upside with the tackle breaks and try scoring opportunities. Sandwich in between is Nathan Cleary, so probably has bottomed out in price. Well, 116, so maybe you could wait a week, but realistically, it's never a bad time to trade in a keeper like Nathan Cleary. So I guess the Metcalf and Reynolds traders, I keep forgetting that Cleary was traded out earlier in the year. The next two are the Melbourne halves, Cam Munster, Jerome Hughes. Um, I mean, if you like them, yeah, I'm looking elsewhere in terms of my season-long keepers. I think just Munster with Origin is probably one you've got to trade out and then trade back in. So that's a few trades to get through. Jerome Hughes obviously doesn't have Origin, but I'm probably leaning more towards a Nico Hines at some stage. But I can understand the interest in Jerome Hughes. Eli Katoa is one I do like as a second row keeper. I just think he's pretty much peaked in price. I'm not sure what his break even is, 59. So he may even go a bit higher. So I guess you're probably not going to get him for much cheaper, unless there's an injury or something. So yeah, if you want to bring him in, do it. Next to a couple of fullbacks, Gutho and Paps. So Gutho at 820, I think, is a bit expensive. Break even of 78, so you're probably buying at the peak. Um, yeah, but I guess he did come off a 130. So what's he done? So it's just at 47 against Melbourne. Aside from that, he has turned up every game, so I can see that appeal. But I don't think it's sustainable. So I wouldn't be looking at Gutherson. Pappenhausen, I suppose you could. Obviously, has gone down a bit in cash. I don't think he'll go too far away from that. But yeah, I guess with both of these guys, their advantage is that they're probably not in the picture for Origin. Dylan Edwards would be the incumbent back from injury this week, hopefully. If not, probably Tedesco would be next in line. Um, Obviously, Latrell, and if he gets fit in time, Tom Trbojevic would be in the conversation. So they are a fair way down the pecking order, which is probably a safer bet during that time. Siwa Wong. Um, so this is an interesting one. Obviously, he has a bit of cash to make still, but he's already made 190k. So I guess if you're bringing him in now, you want him to get towards 650 to make it worthwhile. I can see him getting to about 600, but I don't see more than that. So probably not the one I'd bring in. Just get the cheap guys if you want to make money in the second row and use the extra cash elsewhere. And Grant Anderson, I think, is just people chasing cash. He won't score 3 tries every week. That one is not the smartest move, so I would avoid that um, if you're bringing him in this week. So let's have a look at the captaincy choices. We'll go all coaches still, see what everyone's doing. Might have to start filtering it towards the top 10% shortly. But most popular captain, so probably a lot of people still going with Payne Haas as a more solid option. Um, and fair enough too. Like he did have a bit of a down week last week, but he's still averaging 95. So if he can get close to that, it's always a safe captaincy score. Kalen Ponga in the last game against the Tigers. Yeah, I mean, why not? It's at Newcastle. It's Sunday afternoon. Um, but then, no, they weren't on the bye last week. They played the Dogs last week. So obviously the last week's game was a complete forgive. I saw someone wanted to trade Ponga out and, just keep the faith. It was a rare sort of game where they basically played the whole game with 15 players in the squad. So, and, the Bulldogs are pretty good defensively. So I think Ponga is a decent shout. I'm still a little bit scarred from captaining Turbo late and not getting the result there. Nathan Cleary, so if you do like to just set and forget captain in the first game of the round, perfect option. I do like him as a VC shout along with the 23% that are on. Gutho, if you've got him at the price with the form, averaging 109, why not? Pappenhausen, I guess, yeah, if you like a upside captaincy shout, you could go him. Munster and Hughes, all sort of very much in that same boat. Terrell May's a bit of a safe option in that last game. He's averaging 80, so anything around that would be nice. Reece Walsh still hasn't found his straps, but Friday night could be the night. So um, I guess if you believe in the pick, you could absolutely run with that. And Tedesco, solid option, 81 average, makes sense. In terms of vice captains, so the top three we've already talked about, top five we've already talked about. So Nico Hines, I think Sharks played the second game of the round, so if you've got him, makes sense to give him a VC. Ruben Garrick and Fanua Blake, I guess, also featuring in that early game, so makes sense. Isaiah Yeo as well, as a bit of a pod VC option there. All right, so I guess all that's left to discuss is what I'm doing with this train wreck of a side. Although honestly, I don't know if it's that bad. Like the hookers are still making a bit of money, which is nice. Front row is fantastic. Barnett's been questionable, I'll give you that. But these guys in the second row have all been good. Tom Gilbert with his move to the edge isn't ideal. Finifuiaki can probably go as well. Obviously, Humphreys going down injured is a bit of a concern, but Cleary and Campbell are solid in the halves. Metcalf, can probably fix up later. Centre wings are okay. Obviously, Skelton being injured wasn't ideal, but most of them have been making money doing their thing. And with Yongi hitting a bit of form, I think the fullbacks position's pretty solid. So it's not the worst team. It's just a few things haven't gone my way this season. So um, I think in the round preview I talked about trading out Fini Filiaki. Um, and then I guess the question is who do you bring in? And like I said, I've preferred Egan, but realistically that's probably the safer pick. It's not a lot of upside, but I guess it was about freeing up that extra 75k. It does make a bit of a difference, and they should make similar amounts of money going forward. But I think with Gilbert coming back in and playing on the edge, I'm not a fan of the Gilbert pick anymore. So I'm going to take the opportunity to grab some cash. So Cant's coming in as well. So choose one or the other. I'm having both. It does leave a lot of money in the bank. I'm not going to use a boost this week. But I think the plan going forward is with this freed up money is next week to target some of the Bulldogs guys. So part of the reason why I'm not trading Humphreys is it could potentially be Matt Burton if he gets up next week. There is a couple other options that I don't mind, but I'm just going to wait a week and reassess. I can put a team together this week without having a second halfback. I'll be okay. Guess in the centre wing, we do want to get Jacob Kiraz in next week. But there may also be a couple of cheapies we have to look at. Billy Smith and Hiroti from the Sharks. So, there might be some centre wing action next week, trade in the halves. So we'll take advantage this week of the two cheapies that are going to make some good money in our second row. And we'll work out what to do with the big bank down the track. So wait for those trades to load in. So in terms of the team setup this week, so Tino's going to sit on the bench. So I'm just going to do a straight swap with Mitch Barnett. Humphreys obviously isn't going to be on the reserves this week. So we'll leave Ponga on the bench just because he plays in the last game. So Iongi and Tedesco will lock out a bit earlier. Um, and so I'm going to put Thomas Can on the bench as well. As I said, he's the upside play, and we probably do need to play for a bit of upside given our current position on the ladder. So I think the only conversation we need to have is around our centre wings. So, um, we will be playing 6 of the 7. So we've got Tom Jenkins first up against the Dolphins, so we'll play him. Tui Piloto against the Titans is a nice matchup, so we'll keep him. So Broncos and Roosters, and it should actually be Shibasaki and Toya are going up against one another. So um, can we play both? Do we think one's going to get on top of the other? I'm not too sure. So I think Shibasaki, with his 33 this week, is probably on the chopping block next week. So hopefully he gets one more big score. But I guess you can't guarantee these things. I'm just trying to think. I guess on that edge they will have Savala, the young halfbacks, come in. So they may target that left edge a bit. So I'm thinking Shibasaki plays. Then you've got Tamale against Parramatta. So I guess offensively, Parramatta's looking a bit better. I'm not too sure on the defensive side of things. So we'll back Tamale in to get a try against Para. And then Marzu and Skelton play in that last game. So basically, all our reserves are in that last game. We don't really have any outs. Um, if there's late injuries, it might be like if Skelton drops off with 24 hours to go, we just have to play Metcalf. But that's fine. Obviously, we do also have the flex situation anyway. So I think that's going to be the setup. And captain, vice captain, probably not going to change it like I said on Monday. Cleary, vice captain, into Payne Haas. Gives us plenty of time if we need to then shuffle around. So I guess if we do take the Cleary VC, it'll be like Tino would come in as our captain. And then obviously that would, free up a Skeleton or something for May on the bench. So, yeah, or it could even be Shibasaki sits out. We'll just bank on these two being a bit of a wash. But I do think the Broncos will target that edge. So yeah, that's the team anyway. Um, as it stands, can't see any late changes. Not going to use a boost. Obviously, it's very tempting with all this money, but I think the strategy, given that we're so far down the rankings, is to make this money while it's available. Second rows this week. As I said, there should be a couple of centre wings next week that we can use, and then probably by that stage we're into buy planning anyway. So we'll definitely have a more dedicated video to that in a couple of weeks. But that'll be, we'll think about how to use that money to best navigate the buys and sneak our way up the overall rankings then. But yeah, we'll leave the video there. So as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Give us a like if you enjoy the Supercoach content. Subscribe for all fantasy sports content on the channel. And other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.